Welcome back and thanks for joining me again this week. I am the modern Dodo, and yes, I am rocking a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning jersey today because this is going to be the last time that I talk about hockey, at least for a little while. That may or may not be a promise that I'll keep, but it is one of the three things I'm covering this week. So let's jump right into it. First and foremost, I always shoot these videos on a Sunday, and on Wednesday of this week, the Tampa Bay Lightning, I called a 5-game sweep. I did hear that there's some verbiage out there, a gentleman's sweep, but the Tampa Bay Lightning on Wednesday night completed a 5-game sweep of the Montreal Canadiens. It was an absolutely dominant Stanley Cup final, and it was certainly a true reflection as to what this Lightning team was all about. As I've shared, I spent 17 years working for the Tampa Bay Lightning Hockey Club. Probably about 7 or 8 years, I shared with some close friends and certainly family members that the Tampa Bay Lightning were building a dynasty. They were building a juggernaut. And at that time, I sort of used the analogy of a train coming down the tracks. And I felt like a whole lot of NHL teams, in this case, the Montreal Canadiens, were sitting on the tracks and they have no clue what's coming around the corner in terms of a train that's moving fast and can't be stopped. And I truly believe that. As scary as it is to think, right? Back-to-back Stanley Cup championships are an amazing accomplishment. I truly believe that this team is still getting started. A lot of people in NHL circles are pointing to the fact that Blake Coleman is a key cog in the machine, and he is on a low contract right now. Barclay Goodrow is on a low contract. Eventually, Braden Point is going to be due a whole lot more money. Sergachev is going to be due more money down the road. It'll be interesting to see who stays and who goes, but the reason that I know that this team will be more successful than most in terms of managing the Stanley Cup is because Julien BriseBois is at the helm. Julien is the general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and quite frankly, he's just really, really intelligent, and he had been responsible behind the scenes for structuring contracts and advising on salary cap matters while Steve Yzerman was the general manager. And now that he is both hands on the wheel himself, he's doing an absolute miraculous job as to managing the salary cap. One of the biggest buts that we've endured as Lightning fans is this whole concept of the Tampa Bay Lightning are over the salary cap. In theory, they have a roster that in a bubble where everybody's healthy and there's no exceptions or exemptions. In theory, yeah, the Lightning are over the Stanley Cup. But there are rules, the most notable of which being that Nikita Kucherov did not play in the regular season. Therefore, his salary did not count against the cap that are built into how the salary cap works in the NHL. And quite frankly, Julien and the Lightning just did a better job of playing by the rules that were set forth in front of them. Even if you look at their trade deadline work, they traded for Savard on defense. They got a great defenseman, but they paid in draft picks to get Columbus and even Detroit, who was just the third player in the trade, to pick up some of that salary so that the Lightning could afford Savard. And sure enough, he got the assist in the game-winning goal in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup final. So certainly worth it from Julien's perspective to give up some draft picks for such a player that would be a difference maker in the final. And teams like the Red Wings are willing to play their part by ultimately purchasing draft picks. So as long as the NHL has laid out rules that allow Julien to do things such as this, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't continue to do so. And quite frankly, I would blame the other general managers for not being wise to it. Ultimately, if you really want to look at what's happening here, the majority of the league is using their draft picks as currency to select players who may or may not become future NHL players. Julian has proven that he will use draft picks to retain players that have already developed into NHL players and are players that Julian and the Lightning know that they like and value. So ultimately, what makes more sense? Using those draft picks as capital to retain players that you know you like, or to roll the dice on a young player who may or may not develop into A, an NHL caliber player, and B, one that fits your scheme and that you like and that you can count on and you trust. So kudos, Julian. Congrats to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. I will always admit that I could not be any more biased to this team, but I think there's big, big things ahead, and this is just the beginning of a bright, bright future for the Stanley Cup champion, not the beginning of an end with a salary cap squeeze, as many around the NHL are hoping for. So bad luck for the opposition. Let's go Bolts. Let's do that boat parade on Monday. We'll see you all there. Moving forward, I want to talk a little bit about soccer and what's going on. So my second topic this week is going to be Copa America Euros 2020. And yes, I realize it's 2021, but it is Euros 2020. And the start of a bright new soccer season right around the corner, because while I will put away my Lightning jersey for a couple of months, right? So let's say right now it's the middle of July. The next hockey season isn't going to really start up until October. So July, August, September, October, 3 months without hockey. One of the reasons that I love soccer so much is because it seemingly never ends. I think I tweeted or maybe talked about in one of these videos how I was sad when the Champions League final happened because it meant that I was without soccer. Well, it meant that I was without domestic soccer. And really, I just lost sight of the big picture because we were quickly supported in the soccer world with Copa America, which just completed last night. So Copa America is an international tournament. For the most part, the international teams suit up their best lineups. It's an international tournament for really what would be South America. The Brazils, the Argentinas, the Colombias, Uruguay, Paraguay, so on and so forth, compete in this tournament. And last night was the final. Last night featured two of the powerhouse teams in recent history. Well, Brazil has always been the powerhouse team in this region. So Brazil was in it with Neymar leading the front line, and they faced off against Argentina. And, you know, I'm not a big gambler, so I don't even know what the lines are, but I would assume Brazil was a little bit of a favorite because they have been for quite some time. And Argentina, while they've been good, they haven't been great. They haven't been able to convert. So much so that as Messi starts to get up there in age, people are starting to look at it and say, Messi has not been able to convert and win a major trophy for his country. Well, that all changed last night. This is the week of trophies because Messi, like the Lightning, cashed in big and with a 1-0 victory last night, was able to secure his first major trophy for Argentina. So a massive win for Argentina. Lionel Messi and all of his teammates, they were able to secure a 1-0 victory over Brazil and win Copa America. Pretty exciting game last night, especially the final, 15 minutes. Brazil was absolutely pouring it on, but despite a size advantage, they couldn't get their head on anything in the box, and they couldn't convert for a goal to tie things up. Now, we'll see what happens today, because we've got another one coming right down the pipeline. I never really know when I'm going to release these videos on YouTube because download times and editing conversions do take some time, some factors that are outside of my control. But as I'm recording this, I recorded it back in my front room because it's actually, you can probably see behind me, it's starting to get light outside, but I couldn't shoot this video outside. There wasn't enough light. I am, let's call it, 8 hours before kickoff of England versus Italy, and this is Euros 2020. It's the Euros 2020 final. It was originally slated to occur in 2020. COVID knocked everything back to 2021, and we've had an absolutely spectacular tournament. I've enjoyed watching it. A lot of games have advanced based upon penalty shootouts, and that's exactly what both of these teams have had to endure to get where they are today in the final. We're looking for an absolutely spectacular final as Italy, a little bit of a stronger track record, faces off today with England, who has always had a great fan base, but haven't been able to convert quite as frequently at the highest levels, are now in a final with a really good team. England has one of the most star-studded rosters that they've had in a long, long time. As an Arsenal supporter, I'll be looking for my guy, Bukayo Saka, to get the start. I, of course, think that he should get the start. He's a phenomenal player. I believe that he's going to be one of the top 10 players on the planet for years to come. He's only 20 years old. He can play multiple positions. Quite frankly, he's a proper footballer. He just shows up and plays and does whatever you ask of him. So let's look for Saka and to get the start for England and a exciting result today. I'm going to go on the record and I'm going to make a prediction that we get a 2-1 Italy result. I'm going to go with the team with a little bit of a greater track record of success. I really like the Italy defense. They've got some experience and some toughness back there that I think is going to be enough to put them over the hump today. And as we look at this being the, let's call it 11th of July, I should have looked at my calendar before I jumped into this. We're only about a week away from my club, Arsenal. We're less than a week away from some friendlies, but they're going to start with some friendlies overseas, back home, and very, very soon, shoot, I really should have looked at the calendar. We are probably just about a week away from Arsenal traveling right to my backyard. They're going to be playing in Orlando in something called the Florida Cup. I know their first matchup is against Inter Milan, and that occurs on a Sunday. If they were to win that, they play in the Gold Cup final on a Wednesday. I already have my tickets to both of those games. So like I said, why I love soccer and I spend so much time talking about it, because it never stops. I was just sad that the season was over and I was going to have to do without soccer. And before we know it, not only is it back, but I'm going to be able to attend games for the first time in a long, long time. The last time that I attended games was when I was making my tour around England, France, and Italy to watch Arsenal, Norwich, and a whole lot of other games. So it's been a little bit of a while or since I've last watched a soccer match. So I'm really excited for that. It's actually been since before I started my YouTube channel and my website of all that. So come on, you Gunners. We're obviously in a big transfer period right now, and hopefully we can make the most of it because we really, really need to get back to qualifying for European soccer next year. Now, I've talked sports and sports for my first two topics. I've talked hockey and the Lightning as topic number one. I've talked about soccer, Copa America, Euros 2020, and a little teaser on the Arsenal season as topic number two. Topic number three is going to go a little bit off the map, not too far off the map because it's stuff that I've talked about frequently here on my YouTube channel and on my website. But I'm going to talk a little bit about NFTs. and I want to take a deeper dive into a few things that I've touched on ever so slightly through some of my social media channels, and I think I promised a little bit more of a look into these projects with NFTs. So the one I've talked about the most is Gary Vaynerchuk and his VeeFriends project. And as just a simple reminder, that project started out with a on sale, and I won't go through all the logistics of it, but just to give a little bit of the scope as to what happened with that project, it launched on, I think it was scheduled to launch on May 5th. It probably really hit on, I don't know, 5/11 or 5/13, so it was a week delayed. And the project launched with a Dutch auction, which basically meant prices came down to a floor, and that floor was 0.5 ETH. What does that really mean for most of us that aren't in this space? That meant that these NFTs, basically a doodle or an avatar, whatever you want to call it, of various animals that Gary Vaynerchuk created, they were selling for, at their floor price, the most common ones, let's call it $1,500. Well, why would a digital doodle sell for $1,500? There's usually more to the story, not always in the NFT space, but for the sake of my conversation today, I am going to focus a little bit more on that more to the story. In this case, these doodles, digital doodles, represent a 3-year admission, or basically a set of 3 tickets to VCon 2022, 2023, and 2024. So a large conference. It's going to be focused on entertainment, entrepreneurialism, but a large conference, right? So when you look at what people pay for these conferences, $500 a ticket, not completely outrageous and out in left field. Very, very relevant, right? Now, the other thing that Gary has done is he's created a VeeFriends community, which I am a part of, and I personally think that it's really tough to place a value on that. So based upon everything that I've learned since, let's call it the pre-launch, over the past 4 months of being part of the VeeFriends community, let's go with 3 months of being part of the VeeFriends community, is immeasurable. I've made online connections with people that I can reach out to for help with various technology products. I myself have been able to produce, create, and sell my very first NFT on the OpenSea website. It was sold to somebody within the VeeFriends community. So I'm living and learning through this VeeFriends community before I even get my conference ticket and go out and get to shake hands and meet people and build even more relationships. So that's what VeeFriends is. But VeeFriends is towards the top of the NFT totem pole, with some things like Meebits and Cyberpunks. I'm not going to go into those because those are a little bit more the old school projects that don't have a ton of utility tied to them, or maybe they do and I need to research them a little bit more. But I'm going to talk about one that gets a lot of the spotlight and is similar in scale and value to what we see with projects such as Meebits and Cyberpunks, but does have a lot of utility. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Bored Apes Yacht Club, right? Bored Apes Yacht Club. Couldn't make any less sense, right? It does make sense for people that have been in a lot of investment spaces and have been using Discord as a chat room to help each other find and identify different money-making projects. So let's just say you were to look at a cryptocurrency project and you were to discover one such as Ethereum back in the day. What they would do within these communities is they would say, hey, this Ethereum project seems to really have great value. It's probably going to go up. I'm buying in, and you should too. The slang vernacular for this became aping in. So basically people in the Discord channel would ape in, and they would buy Ethereum, and they would all make money together and develop a tighter knit community or bonds. They then created, and I shouldn't say they, but the project owners or starters or leaders sort of ran this in parallel, this concept, and basically said, hey, we've now aped into all these projects, and we are wandering around the swamps bored, just watching our money grow as these projects such as Ethereum and various others grow. I know it's a little bit far-fetched. I'm trying to do the best I can to explain it, but now we have these ape avatars that represent us. And again, I said that I was going to talk about projects that have utility. These aren't simply pictures of apes or monkeys looking bored that can be used as avatars. There's a lot more that goes into it. First and foremost, these bored ape avatars are membership cards or passes. Think about like a wristband that you would wear to get into the gym or something like that. These bored ape avatars get you into the community where you can share ideas with various other bored apes and continue to grow, similar to what's happening in VeeFriends. What Bored Apes does really well is they've laid out a roadmap to the project, and they've made some concrete promises so that people know what they're going to get. So for instance, you become, as the owner of your Bored Ape NFT, for as long as you own it, you own the commercial rights to your ape. So we've already seen that some entrepreneurs have taken their ape and created a Bored Apes comic. There's a Bored Apes coffee that's out there selling, and other projects. So people are making money off of owning the commercial rights to their apes. The Bored Apes Yacht Club also gets first access to any merchandise that comes out. So hoodies have already come out, and they've been able to get access to purchase that merchandise. Most notably, all Bored Ape owners were gifted a subsequent Bored Ape Kennel Club dog. So their avatar, if you own an ape, you now own a dog essentially free of charge. I won't go into the details. It may have cost you anywhere from $5 to $10 to mint it. But you now own an ape and a dog. So what does that mean? Well, let's look at just the financial impact. When Bored Apes went on sale, I think it was sometime in either March or April, they went on sale and they were selling for 0.08 ETH. And I don't know exactly what ETH was worth at the time, but let's just say it was up around that $4,000 probably high water mark for ETH. I think that's where it was. Well, that 0.08 ETH would have meant that you bought your Bored Ape at the time for, let's just call it $350 for the sake of easy math. Gosh, I haven't looked in a while, but the floor price on an ape on resale right now is somewhere, gosh, last time I looked, which was probably about a month ago, I feel like it was somewhere right around 2 ETH. So that $350 purchase is now worth over $4,000. So over the course of, let's call it 4 or 5 months, the value of a Bored Ape investment has gone 10 times over if you were to resell it today. That doesn't even factor in the inclusion that you would have also received a complimentary bored dog or a Kennel Club NFT, which I do know the floor of that is also right around $600 right now. So in theory, if you would have bought in at the most basic level and you would have gotten a very common ape, if luck was against you, your $350 investment would be worth somewhere around a minimum of $5,000 right now. Pretty impressive, not bad. What's really, really, really crazy is that $350 investment, if you were lucky, when the apes were generated, it was sort of a random drawing as to who got what ape. I won't bore you with all the details. If you got a rare ape, some of them have sold for over $200,000 online. Absolutely mind-boggling to think that's where the project has gone. So, Bored Apes is probably one of the most noteworthy ones. I will add a link to everything that is included in the Bored Apes utility. It really is impressive and fascinating to read, something for you to geek out on a little bit. So I'll add a link in the comments below. As always, I would encourage you to check out my website. I think I'm actually a week behind. I think I owe 2 posts this week. So let's see if I can be productive and catch up today. But I'm going to include a link on my website, www.themoderndodo.com. If my explanation has been too confusing or you're interested in learning more about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, check out themoderndodo.com. There's going to be a link to an absolutely excellent, fantastic article taking a deep dive into everything Bored Apes Yacht Club. 2 more projects that I want to talk about ever so briefly here. Thinking, did I want to talk about 2 or did I want to talk about 1? Let's just jump into 1 more here. I may go into 2, but let's jump into 1 more. The other one that I want to cover that I know I've talked about on some of my social media channels. Again, I am on a fairly regular basis. I'd say 6 out of 7 days a week. I deliver through Instagram, through TikTok, through Facebook, and through my favorite Twitter. Let's not forget about Twitter with short form. I talked about Zed Run. So Zed Run is instead of an ape, you own, and again, a lot of people, what are NFTs? I'm probably late in my video. It's basically a digital contract to a unique asset. So in Zed Run, your digital contract is for a unique asset in the form of a horse. So just as people own horses in real life, Zed Run has created virtual horses that you can race for real money. Right? So you pay anywhere from about $2 up to, I don't know what the high-end entry is. I go in on the low entry races, but $2 per race. And if your horse finishes first, second, or third, you win the prize pool. A lot of fun now that we can all be basically virtual horse owners from the comfort of our own home or living room. And if you check out Zed Run, the graphics are pretty cool. It's definitely a race that's not completely boring to watch, but somewhat more exciting, I would say. Maybe, I don't know what's more exciting, the breeding or the racing, but you can breed your horses. So if I own a mare or a filly, I can go out and pay a stud fee to have somebody else's male horse of certain characteristics and genes that I'm selecting breed with mine. So the owner of the male horse gets the stud fee, I get the offspring, and it becomes my personal property via these digital contracts that I can then do what I want with. So the offspring is going to be randomly generated based on the genes of my female horse and the male horse that I identified to breed with. The offspring is going to have those genes, and it may be a horse that I want to hang on to and I want to race as a money-making asset, or it may be a horse that I want to go out and sell to somebody else, and then of course I get the funds from selling my horse. A pretty cool concept. I gotta say, Zedrun is having a lot of technology problems, which is a little bit frustrating. But man, if they can get the technology figured out, they are really, really onto something, because they have done a phenomenal job of digitally emulating horse ownership. It's pretty cool. So go ahead and check out Zedrun. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. VeeFriends, which is a digital ticket to a conference and a collectible. Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is going to give you some breeding privileges, but is commercial ownership is probably the biggest asset or utility that goes into it. And then Zedrun, which is digital horse racing ownership. So 3 really cool NFT projects. I know that Gary Vaynerchuk was set to go on, I think it was CNBC, and talk about the NFT project, VeeFriends. There was a teaser that I saw, I believe on Twitter earlier this morning, where he said, if you don't understand this NFT space, we don't blame you, because it's very, very hard to figure out. If you don't understand what I'm talking about on this video, shoot me a direct message. Ask me questions. A big part of what I've done to educate myself is ask those same questions in the VeeFriends community. So I hope that some of you do engage and ask me questions in the near future. Until next week, I'll look forward to some of your questions, and check me out on social media. I'll stay active there. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Enjoy the week ahead, and enjoy Euros 2020, the final.